No one, as far as I know, has written the comprehensive book about the following topic. You and I both say, and we're not the only ones, Trump didn't create the movement. He saw that it was there and he seized it. He got to the front of the parade, and not diminishing the accomplishment, but the movement was there. And I look at the movement, and again, I go back to Reagan because I think that's when the modern history of all these things began. I see Reagan, I see you, I see Pat Buchanan as three people who are part of the through line that led to Trump. Not on the negative side, as you said, in reacting to Democrats. Who are the other people besides Pat Buchanan and Reagan and yourself you'd put on that list?
He's sort of forgotten now, but I actually think Goldwater was very formative. I mean,
Yeah.
the number of young people who read Conscience of a Conservative and suddenly said, that's right, that's real, that's how the world should. I mean, he had an astonishing impact in creating a party which would nominate Nixon in '68. And Reagan's, as you know, Reagan's speech for Goldwater, which people can watch on YouTube as a time for choosing, is still, you can watch it today and it's totally relevant. I mean, Reagan was talking about universal truths that don't disappear. And I think a lot of what Trump has tried to do, is pick up on a similar pattern. Trump is a deeply American patriot. Trump is for the work ethic. Trump is for meritocracy, knowing that it drives the left crazy. And Trump is for normal people. I mean, the moment when he went to McDonald's to give out French fries, and then got into the garbage truck, putting on a garbage collector's vest, and walks into the arena with 50,000 people and says, they tell me the vest makes me look thinner. Maybe I'll wear it for the rest of the campaign. That is an identification Reagan would totally have approved of. Now, Reagan was a movie star. I mean, Reagan was never, he may have been back in Illinois or at WHO in Des Moines, but by the time Reagan had become president, he was a movie star. He was part of the great national elite. But he represented and could communicate with an amazing range of Americans. And I think he would say that Nancy used to feel very much that she was treated by Washington much the way Trump is. I mean, she was fairly bitter about some of the treatment that she took.
Yeah. Is there anyone else, I take your point on Goldwater, is there anyone else from the 90s, the aughts, or the teens pre-Trump who you would say belongs in a history of the MAGA movement as being someone who popularized its ideas, who generated ideas, who played on the national stage?
I mean, one of the amazing, relatively unknown figures is Grover Norquist.
Yeah, I agree.
The degree to which Grover and Americans for Tax Reform has spread the no tax increase pledge, the degree to which you just saw it in action when there was a rumor floated about the possibility of raising taxes on billionaires, and people came down hard and said, no. We are not the party that raises taxes, which, of course, was the great fight with George H.W. Bush. I mean, Grover has been one of the seminal figures in the modern conservative. The other person who, this may get her in trouble, but if you look at Brooke Rollins, from the creation of the Texas Public Policy Foundation, which is now, I guess, 25 years ago, up through the America First Policy Institute, she assembled and directed a collection of people who laid the base intellectually for what Trump has done in the second term, and who understood bridging a conservative movement into, and you're exactly right, Trump is not essentially a conservative. He doesn't read National Review, which of course drives the National Review editors crazy. But Trump is the most effective anti-liberal in my lifetime.
Yeah, you mentioned Grover Norquist, and I think it's a great addition to my list. He's a Washington organizer. He's not very well known outside of Washington. But I'll tell you two things that I think Grover did that are antecedents to Trump, besides holding the line on tax increases. One is he was one of the first people who made owning the libs a thing. Right, being anti-liberal as a unifying organizing principle, being against universities, being against the media, being against woke corporatism, and Trump inherited the energy of that. The other thing Grover did, and Grover's famous. He holds a Wednesday meeting in Washington with groups, and I used to have the privilege as a reporter of attending off the record. It's the biggest tent you can imagine. There are people there who care about abortion, right to life. There are people who care about taxes. There are people who care about regulation. There are people who care about Second Amendment rights. And Grover taught them, we got to be a big tent. You may be from a Second Amendment group, but if we want to rename Washington's airport after Ronald Reagan, you're going to be part of that coalition. And that's, I think, what Trump did extremely effectively.
Well, the other thing I would say is you cannot describe the rise of modern conservatism without three people: Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, and Roger Ailes. I mean, the degree to which they unified an entire nationwide movement, educated it, in the case of Ailes, built an entire network for it, created a frame of, and again, if you listen to them, they're much more anti-left-wing stupidity than they are doctrinaire conservatives.
Yep.
But their collective impact, I mean, Rush and Sean in terms of the scale of their audience, and Roger in terms of the scale of the institution he built, they were a major counterbalance to the traditional media.
No doubt. And only one of those three is still alive, Sean. And those who don't listen to Sean to understand Trump are making a mistake. The reason those guys have an affinity is for the very reason you said, which is they are part of that same understanding of how to communicate that Trump took advantage of. Less doctrinaire conservative, less here are my 82 ideas, and more we need fundamental change because there's too much going on the left that's being rejected by working class people.
And by the way, in Sean's case, I think he's known Trump for 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a genuine social, friendly.
Yeah.
You know, they can talk for an hour and a half because they're New Yorkers, and
Yeah.
they understand the rhythm of each other.